Climbing a trail is a really good metaphor for trying to create any kind of change in your life. And if you are trying to create change, I want you to think about this metaphor. Every single change is going to require you to shed a layer. You see, I'm climbing up here, this trail, and as I get higher and higher and closer to the top, I'm getting more and more uncomfortable in this freaking bulky jacket. My armpits are sweating. This jacket is something I needed when I started this climb, but now it's making me uncomfortable. It's making me breathe a little heavier because it's hot. And I want you to think about that because there's a change you're trying to make in your life and there's a layer you need to shed. Maybe it's a relationship that's holding you back and making you feel constrained as you make this change. Maybe it's a habit that you need to shed. Maybe it's even an identity, like wearing this jacket. I put it on because it was cold, and now that I'm working up the sweat, I don't need it anymore. As you create change, think about what you need to shed, and here's how you know. Whatever it is that makes things harder, that makes you feel constrained, that makes you feel a little agitated and uncomfortable, like my down jacket was, you just need to shed it. Because it ain't going to help you get to where you need to go. It's only going to make it harder. For me, as I think about the changes I'm going to make in this leg of my journey in life, there are relationships I'm shedding. There are certainly habits that I'm shedding. There's beliefs that I have about myself that I'm shedding. Letting it go, getting rid of it, so that I can move forward unencumbered, feeling free, and empowered to reach great new heights. So the 5-second rule.
Wait, first off, when did you discover the 5-second rule?
Okay, so 2009.
This is when you first tried it or discovered it, or?
Oh, it's a total horror show mistake.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So 2009, I was unemployed and feeling like...
You unemployed? How?
Well, okay.
You have too much charisma, too much passion.
Yeah, because everything's working right now. That's why. I'm not like this when things are not working.
Sure.
Ask my husband of 22 years.
Yeah.
What had happened is I had all these career changes and I got into the media business, again, by mistake. I had a coaching business and Inc. magazine was writing an article about coaches and they featured me in it and CNBC called.
Got it.
And that led to me doing some stuff with CNBC. And I spent a year still coaching people and then doing some stuff for CNBC. And then Fox called. And they were interested in having me host a television show. Now, you got to understand, I'm from North Muskegon, Michigan. Mm-hmm. I mean, the media business, Fox, LA. The closest thing I had ever seen to a celebrity, Lewis, was the Muskegon Lumberjacks, the farm team, right?
Right.
From for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, the AA team or whatever.
Yeah, my dad was the hometown doc for the hockey team there.
Right.
So I thought,
the mayor was a celebrity.
Wow, my life's about to change. I'm about to be a celebrity. Wow, we're going to solve this is amazing, you know. So I was originally going to be hosting a show for Fox where we were making over small businesses.
Nice.
Yeah, pretty cool, right? We show up, we do extreme home makeover for the office. Everybody's happy. We all know that doesn't solve business problems, but it makes for a nice television show. By the time I get to LA, they've changed the format. It's now called Someone's Gotta Go. And I'm going to be firing people on national television from real jobs.
Wow.
Uh-huh.
That sounds fun.
Horrible.
Oh, my gosh.
Plus, we haven't told the offices that this is what we're doing.
Oh, my gosh.
So you show up in Act 1 and you've got everybody all like this because they're going to think they're going to get new IKEA furniture and a paint job and this is going to be the best thing in the world for their small business. Now, meanwhile, I'm a 4th generation small business owner. So that's like my people. Grew up at a kitchen table with farmers, and, my mom had a retail store, and my other grandparents were bakers. And so when it comes to like the heart and soul and what's so important when you launch your own business and how personal it is, I mean, this was like gut wrenching. So I show up, the first act, you kick out the owner of the company, who then freaks out, then all the employees freak out. Act number 2, we announce that somebody's getting fired. And then that's the bad news. The good news is that I'm not picking. We're going to have you vote somebody out. So it's Survivor in an office place.
Oh, my goodness.
So
that sucks.
When I learn all this, I have a panic attack, even though I'm on Zoloft. And I call the guy that got me the gig and say, you got to get me out of this. Like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And he said, well, I'm sorry, but they've already cast the entire show and you're out there for 5 weeks and you don't have a choice. They're going to sue you. And I said, then fine, get me some Xanax because I don't think I can get through this thing. Like, this is awful. Luckily, we taped 2 episodes and legal tabled it. But here was the problem. I was attached to the show and I only got paid if the show was shooting. So and being an entrepreneur, I also kind of put all my energy into this, shut down the coaching thing. Really thought that it also kind of negotiated a deal that was a sort of a back end deal, thinking I'm a entrepreneur, always thinking about got to have a piece of the action. Yes,
of course.
That was a dumb move. And I was in a contract for a year while they figured out what to do.
So you couldn't do another show. Yeah.
So, I just felt like I had made a huge mistake and I felt really embarrassed. And I didn't know at the age of 41 what I should be doing with my life. And while it's neat that I had jumped careers so many times, I started to feel like somebody that actually wasn't successful at all because I didn't have a career track. I had a bunch of jumps from one thing to another. Now, looking back, it makes perfect sense. But standing in the middle of the mess, it just felt like everything was caving in, probably just like when you were sleeping on your couch, feeling injured and like everything I thought that was about to happen isn't happening now. Meanwhile, my husband had opened up a restaurant business. It had been his dream. He worked in high tech and came home one day after getting laid off and said, I'm never going to get on a plane and do a PowerPoint presentation for a company I don't care about or own. And I said, great, what's your plan? And he said, I'm going to open a pizza restaurant. And I looked at him and I said, was there a trust fund that was part of this marriage that I was unaware of? Because I'm not quite sure how we're going to
get the money. Exactly. Did someone die? You got an insurance policy? Check.
Yes. And he said no. And I then said the most famous lines of our 22-year marriage, Lewis. I looked at him and I said, listen, buddy, inspiration is for strangers. You get your ass back to that job and you pay the mortgage and you forget this dream. You're not going to this.
Wow.
So because change is scary.
Yeah.
So we fought and he won. And the first one was a real home run. And
he opened a pizza store.
Oh, he did. Yeah. 40 seats right outside of Boston, Massachusetts. He and his best friend. And they won Best of Boston. It was incredible. What do you do when everything's...
They make money, though.
They did on the first one. Okay. So what do you do when everything's working? Woo, let's go all chips in. Let's put in the home equity line. Let's put in the kids' college savings. Let's get friends and family. And because you're so excited, you think it's going to work. So you go big, big, big. Well, the second one did not work at all. And it did not work at all so badly that when it was finally closed, it was close to an $800,000 loss. And it meant our entire home equity line, kids' college savings, everything went right down with it. That was right when I lost the Fox show. So I'm unemployed. The liens start hitting the house. The phone starts ringing all the time, and it's collections calls. So you unplug the phone.
That would stress me out.
Well, you just unplug the phone.
Oh my
that's how you deal with that. But I remember I remember 2 things from that period of my life that were really painful, and one was having to call the town and tell them that we could not afford the $175 for our 6th grader to play soccer, so we needed to pull her out. And I remember there being times, because I was so afraid to look at the checking account, that I would stand at the grocery store and items would scan and I could just feel that wave of anxiety rising, thinking, I don't think the check card's going to go through. And so I would stand there. I always had an excuse, and it was to look at the person and go, oh, that's strange. It just worked at the gas station.
Oh my gosh.
Because what would have been more empowering is to probably say, oh, well, I guess I don't have the money for this. Let's take this, this, and this. And just kind of like the easiest thing to do is to tell the truth. But I was so filled with shame.
Yeah.
So I started to develop this habit of hitting the snooze button. Because what would happen is the alarm would go off in the morning And the first thing I would think about is all the problems that we had and how awfully things had gone off the tracks.
You didn't want to deal with them.
No, and I also didn't know. I didn't think I could. And this goes back to the feelings. Like you think that you need to feel confident or courageous in order to get started. You don't. You actually just have to start, and that's the riddle of life. That lying in bed, hoping that you wake up some morning motivated to change, that's not the answer. You actually have to learn how to push yourself. You have to learn how to leverage the power of your decisions, and you've got to learn how to take action when you don't feel like it. Because every morning when I woke up, I did not feel confident. I felt like a loser. Yeah. I felt like the world's worst parent. I felt like I had failed at every single turn. I did not know if Chris and I could pull out of this spiral. I did not know if we were going to go bankrupt and lose the house and move from our community. I did not know if our marriage would survive. I knew I wanted it to. And see, this is the knowledge action gap. You can know what you want. You can know what you should be doing. But how do you make yourself do it when the feelings and the motivation isn't there? When all you got is fear? And so every night I would lie in bed and I would say to myself, all right, that's it, Mel. Tomorrow, it's the new you. Tomorrow, you're going to wake up and be motivated. You're going to get up. You're going to exercise like everybody says you should. You're going to meditate. You're going to get those kids on the bus. You're going to screw Fox. You're going to look for a job. You're going to cold call Cox Media, and you're going to do auditions. Come on, girl, let's go. You're going to take a cold shower. Woo! Here we go. And I meant it when I was saying it. Maybe it was the alcohol that was talking, but then I would wake up and I didn't feel any of those things. Mm-hmm. So I would hit the snooze. And I would hit the snooze. Now, why was I hitting the snooze when I knew it wasn't the right decision? I'm going to tell you why. And this is something that I was blown away by when I discovered it. You don't make decisions with your goals. You don't make decisions with your prefrontal cortex. You don't make decisions with logic. Do you know how we make decisions? I didn't invent this. A neuroscientist by the name of Damasio, who does his research in Brazil, who gave an incredible TED Talk and wrote about this forever and ever and ever. We make decisions with feelings. 95% of our decisions are made by how you feel in the moment. And that is the problem. You need to take control of the moment and leverage the power of your decisions and make them up here. Because when I was lying in bed, I wasn't saying to myself, I should get up because that's going to help me start my day right. I was saying, do I feel like getting up?
No, you don't.
No. Do you feel like making that cold call? No, you don't. Do you feel like doing that third set of reps? No, you don't. Do you feel like having that hard conversation? No, you don't. Do you feel like ending this relationship, whether it's in business or in your life, that is sucking you dry? No, you don't. We make decisions based on our feelings, and that is robbing you of joy and opportunity. And it is blinding you from the fact that how you change your life is 1 5-second decision at a time, one push at a time. And if you accept the fact that you may never feel ready and you may never feel motivated and you may never feel confident, you may never feel courageous, and that's okay, but you can still push yourself forward. What happens over time is as you start to see yourself becoming the person that takes action, that you start to see yourself becoming the kind of person that speaks even though your voice is shaking. You're the kind of person that has a bias toward moving instead of a bias toward thinking. Guess what happens? You build the skill of confidence and courage. And so what happened for me is I was stuck, Lewis. I was so stuck. We were heading straight for divorce. We were heading for bankruptcy. I knew I wanted to change things. And so one night I see this commercial. This is the stupidest story on the planet, but this is what happened. I see this commercial. And, again, I also was drinking too much. I probably had a couple Manhattans in me. Sure. That's my drink. I'm from the Midwest, just like you. Yeah. All right, little Manhattan there, little bourbon. And there was a rocket ship launching.
On a commercial.
Yeah. And I had this instinct, this innovation, this disruptive idea, right? Oh, my God, Mel. That's the answer. Tomorrow morning, you're going to launch your ass out of bed like a rocket ship. You're going to move so fast, you can't even think about your problems. dumb, right?
Mm-hmm.
Totally dumb.
But
See, he's like,
worse.
this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. I cannot
worse.
believe I have this chick on my
No,
podcast.
I understand it. You got to get moving first.
Yes.
That's the thing. You just got to wake up at 6 a.m. or whenever it is and go into the gym. And when you're in the gym, you're going to start moving the first weight.
Yes.
And then you'll start moving the second
Actually,
weight.
people use the 5-second rule at the gym because you know how much time people waste at the gym standing around thinking about the next thing?
Probably 70% of the time.
5,
right?
4, 3, 2, 1. So the next morning the alarm goes off and nothing had changed in my life. I woke up to the lien on the house, the fighting with Chris, the unemployment, the lack of confidence, the lack of courage, the whole thing. But I did something I had never done before. I went 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just like NASA. I actually counted. And then I stood up and I was like, what the hell just happened?
Uh-huh.
What? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The next morning I used it again, it worked. The next morning I used it again, it worked. And then I started to notice something, and this is one of those things. So we have an 11-year-old son who has dyslexia, and when they finally diagnosed him, it was as if, of course, it was as if like, how could we have possibly missed this? Are we the worst parents in the world? I mean, the kid can barely write, he can't cut his food, he doesn't read. Like, no wonder he doesn't do team sports. It was right under our nose, and what I'm about to tell you is right under everybody's nose. There's a 5-second window between the instincts, the shoulds, the urges, the inner wisdom, the things that can change your life if you listen to it. Got a 5-second window from the moment you feel that instinct to move. And if you don't, your brain is actually designed to kill it. 5 seconds is all you have. The second you hesitate, and you feel yourself hesitating, that is a moment of huge power because what's happened is you've just started to pull back from something that you need to lean into. And if you count backwards 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and this is the neuroscience behind why this stupid little trick works, counting is an action. Counting backwards requires focus. It's also not a habit for you yet. So when you feel yourself hesitate, you're triggering your mind that something's up. Like Lewis didn't hesitate when he pulled on his pants. He didn't hesitate when he's drinking his coffee. He didn't hesitate when he walked out the door to the gym, but now he's hesitating to make that call. Your mind now goes into a cognitive bias called the spotlight effect. It magnifies whatever it was that you hesitated doing.
The moment.
The moment. Yeah. Like all of a sudden you're like, hey, I don't feel like it. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'll do it later. Right. And your mind is doing it because your mind's trying to protect you. Hesitation signals a red flag to your mind that something's up. Just that small hesitation. It's a habit that we all have. Should you hesitate if you're getting a tattoo? Yes. Should you hesitate if you're gambling? Yes. Should you hesitate if you are signing a legal document? Yes. You need your prefrontal cortex for those things. You need to interrupt it, make a decision. Should you hesitate on making a phone call? No. Should you hesitate on speaking up in a meeting? No. Should you hesitate when you feel yourself starting to procrastinate and you know you got work that you should get done? No, you shouldn't hesitate at all. Should you hesitate in saying the thing that you really feel in your heart? No, you shouldn't. Should you hesitate and edit yourself when you're talking? No, you shouldn't. But we've all trained ourselves to. So it's actually this habit of hesitating. You start catching yourself. It's a huge moment of power because you have a decision to make and you got to make it in the next 5 seconds. Are you going to go on autopilot and get trapped in your mind? Or are you going to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and awaken your prefrontal cortex and drive forward? So I started to use this rule as I noticed that every day, all day long, I had these moments of inner wisdom where I would know that I needed to pick up the phone and stop isolating myself. I would know that I needed to call a bunch of media companies and start auditioning for radio show hosting gigs. I knew that I should get out of bed on time. I knew I should stop myself before I snapped at Chris, right? Self-monitor.
Yeah.
I knew I should not let the frustration be the things that was driving me. And so I started to use the rule all day long. Whenever I felt this, I should do this, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I would make myself do it. And slowly, 5 seconds at a time, my entire life started to change. And my husband used it in his business, and he and his business partner dove in. They went on to open 7 more restaurants. I went on to launch and sell 2 businesses and get recruited by CNN and join their team. I had a syndicated radio show that ended up winning the Gracie Award, which is kind of the female media, awards for the #1 talk show in the country. And, I never intended to tell anybody about the 5-second rule. First of all, because it's stupid.
Right.
I mean, come on. Count backwards. That's the dumbest
thing.
Not
stupid to me, though. Anything that works for me.
That's true.
You know what I mean? I'll take any stupid thing.
That's true. But I also was like, how do you start talking about something like that, right?
Yeah.
So I was asked to give a TED Talk like 6 years ago, and TED 6 years ago, not the brand that it was today. They weren't even putting the talks online yet.
Really?
Yeah, the TEDx talks were not online yet. And so that was the first speech I'd ever given in my life. If you want to see what somebody looks like having a panic attack for 21 minutes straight, watch that speech. I was backstage, and it was like one PhD after another going out there. I'm like, what the hell have I gotten myself into? This is the dumbest thing. And so at the very end, I wasn't even planning on talking about it. I say, oh, by the way, there's this thing I do. That's it. I don't even explain it. And you know why I didn't explain it, Lewis? I didn't know why it worked.
So you didn't have the science or the research. You were just
Zero. And then something crazy happened. They put that talk online a year later, and people started to write. We've heard from more than 100,000 people in 90 countries that have written to us that are using the rule in ways big and small to change their lives, to change their marriages, to change their thinking patterns, to grow their businesses. We know of 11 people that have stopped themselves from killing themselves.
Wow.
In the moment, there's a gentleman that we talk about in the book, and you can see his social media posts in London. He was a veteran, and he was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, and he boarded a ferry with the intention of jumping overboard. And he got to the railing, and he was standing there, and his inner wisdom kicked in. And this is another thing I want everybody watching to understand. I don't care what you're facing or how low you get. Your inner wisdom is always there. It is. And the thing is that we often don't listen to it. And so he's standing there intending to kill himself, and that inner wisdom kicks in. And he remembers the 5-second rule. And he goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and he turns and physically moves away from the railing and finds the first person working on the ferry and tells him that he's suicidal. Saved his life.
Wow.
He saved his life because he listened to the inner wisdom. And this is the other thing I love about this rule. It's not something to think about. It's a tool to use. So the part of the problem with a lot of the advice that I've found, for me personally, is that a lot of advice is all about kind of doing mental battle. And if I go upstairs, I'm behind enemy lines, and I tend to get hijacked.
Right.
So I love this tool because 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 interrupts those patterns. It actually prompts the part of the brain that I need in order to change. And it makes changing easier because I've now got my mind working for me instead of against me. And it gets me out of my head. And so I'm super excited to share this rule with people because I now know not only that it's working, just not for me, it's working for people around the world. And, in the book, it took me 3 years to write it. It's all the science behind the rule. Yeah. It's got more than 150 social media posts in it. So you see stories from around the world of people using it to end procrastination, to build confidence, to deepen their relationships, to launch businesses, to explode the sales. Why does it help with sales? I'll tell you why. Because you can't sell by thinking. Selling is about action. We have groups from companies around the world, sales teams that put 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 up on the wall. Really? I'm sure they hate me.
That's cool.
Yes, because cold calling. It's a momentum thing. If you stop and think, the dialing is not happening when you're thinking.
Yeah. If you're thinking about all those no's you've been getting,
yes,
you're not going to want to do it again because it doesn't feel good.
Yes, and if you're in the middle of a negotiation or you're in the middle of a really difficult conversation, and again, remember what we said earlier? You cannot control your feelings that rise up, but you can always control how you think and what you do. So if you're in the middle of a difficult conversation and you feel those feelings come up that normally trigger you to start editing yourself or to censor yourself or to silence yourself, or to think sabotaging thoughts in like a business negotiation, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awaken the prefrontal cortex. Get back in the game.
It's the new year. It's January. As we're recording, this is early January. This episode will come out next week. And there's a lot of people that are setting New Year's resolutions right now. There's a lot of people trying to change their habits. And a lot of people have this idea that all they need to do is get motivated to start, and then they'll be able to achieve their goals. And I know you don't agree with that. So why?
Let me frame it this way. You just said that, all these folks are starting the new year, right? And they are setting goals and they're trying to change habits, and that All they need in order to make this stick is motivation. And, here's the thing that I want to say. Number one, there are two kinds of motivation. There is intrinsic, the internal motivation, and extrinsic, the motivation that comes from outside of you. And I think, number one, most of us don't understand what type of motivation we're talking about when we say we just need motivation. You see, extrinsic motivation works every time. If I were screaming at you, you'd be very motivated to either get out of the room that I were in or to do what I say and comply. That is extrinsic motivation. If the police are chasing you, you will be motivated to run away from them, most likely. That is extrinsic motivation, right? If you have a child who falls into a swimming pool, you will be motivated to jump into that swimming pool to save them. That is extrinsic motivation. It is an outside event hitting you like a lightning bolt and shocking you into motion, either because you care about something that's happening, like your child in a swimming pool, or you're scared, and so your instinct is to run or freeze, or because you are forced to by somebody like me screaming at you. So extrinsic motivation works all the time. The trouble that we all get into is that we think that intrinsic, internal motivation, the desire and the energy and the effort required to break a habit, to learn a new one, and to create new skills and practice new skills in your life. The mistake that you are making is thinking that that energy, that desire, and that output is somehow going to magically appear. And I am here to tell you, internal motivation does not exist when you need it. You felt the amount of motivation internally that you're going to feel all year when you wrote down your goals. Okay? You felt the internal motivation, you had the desire, you took the action, you wrote down the goals. Great. But that's not going to get you to change the behavior. And so I want everybody to wake the fuck up and realize that you're not going to feel like doing what you need to do to change your life. That if you want to change your life, it requires effort, it requires consistency, and it also requires something most of us don't talk about in the personal development space when it comes to changing habits, and that is fucking compassion for yourself. You have had the same shitty self-talk for decades. You are not going to change it in one day. You have hit the snooze alarm every morning for the last 10 years. You are not going to break that habit overnight. You have been feeding your sadness with carbohydrates since you were 8 years old. You are not going to break that habit with one healthy meal. And so one of the most important aspects of changing your life is, number one, you got to realize you're always going to need to force yourself, push yourself to do what you don't feel like doing. That's number one. Number two, you're going to have to repeat that over and over and over and over and over again. What the research says is it takes 21 days of consistent effort to break the old pattern, but you need to repeat the 21 days 3 times in order to have the chemical, neurological, physiological loop lock into your mind, body, and spirit to make it part of your new default wiring. And so you got to understand, we're talking 66 days before it becomes kind of second nature. And finally, when you have a bad day and you stuff a potato chip in your mouth because you feel sad, or you scream at your kids because you get triggered, or you down an entire bottle of wine when you said you were going to do dry January, you must practice self-compassion. Because the major mistake that I see people making, Doug, is number one, they're waiting around to feel like it. And number two, the second that they do one bad day or they make one mistake, you chuck all your positive progress out the window and you go back to the way that you always used to do things. And one of the greatest skills ever is to go, okay, I didn't do what I said I was going to do. I forgive myself. And today I'm going to do a little better. That's it. I want to try to summarize the steps to make sure that it's very clear, not only for
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
forget about you guys. I want to make sure it's clear for me that first of all, it would be really smart of me to write down a long list of what I want in this next chapter of my life for real,
Yes.
and the why. And you explained that in the example around legacy. So if what I'm really after is more peace, a hell of a lot more fun, and a greater impact with more ease, I need to unpack what does that actually mean,
Yes.
and get very clear about the why. And I know that the why has to do with more time with family, more time with friends, more time and space to do bigger thinking instead of racing around being busy.
Yeah.
The second thing that I got out of this is very like radical. And that is when the fear or the anxiety or the worry or the self-doubt, that little, like, we're going to talk about the negative bitch first before we talk about the whisper. The negative bitch in your head is just your ego trying to protect you.
Yeah.
And so when that anxiety comes up, or I wake up and I feel like that hot lava on my neck and my thoughts start to swirl, don't try to outrun it. Face the bitch and be like, all right, bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, you think I'm gonna be lonely on a mountain because I'm lonely in suburbia? You think I'm not gonna have any friends there because I don't have friends here? Okay, you think I'm not gonna be successful doing it there because I'm not, like, oh, okay. And hear it. And then the way that you take the bitch and you flip her into your best friend is you say, what is this trying to warn me? What is this trying to coach me? What are the things that it's saying? Hey, if you're gonna go do this, just know that you might feel lonely and that's okay. So what are you going to do about it? If you're going to go do this, just know that you should probably, reach out to friends that are doing podcasts from remote places. If you're going to do this, so that you know what steps to take. And it's in taking the steps forward to prepare for plan B.
Yeah.
So that you got a plan for when that stuff happens, that is going to allow you to access the radical confidence, which feels radical in a moment where you're doubting yourself. And you just keep pushing forward and you do it over and over and over and over and over again. Because what's interesting is you also said this thing about the whisper, that the things that are meant for you and the things that are true begin as a whisper.
Mm-hmm.
And when you really start to hear the whisper, whether it's, I'm going to sign up for this program, even though it scares me, or I'm going to not have kids and sit down with my spouse, even though it scares me, or I'm going to, make a major life change and it scares me. As you start to hear the whisper, I think there's a pretty close period of time where that whisper turns into a fucking bitch.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because she's like, hang on a minute, you're freaking ignoring me. Let me get my megaphone so that you don't.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
And then that last piece is making sure that you understand your belief, why you feel the way you do actually, Mel, because you even said your parents never moved out of the house that you were born in, correct? Your grandparents never did. So you have a somewhat of, it seems like a belief system that holding on to the house that maybe your kids were brought up in is something and I don't want to speak for you, but maybe something you feel like you should do. Or maybe feel like it's something that you saw your parents do, and now you're actually breaking that pattern. And for me, it was the same. My grandparents, my mom, everyone ended up like basically thinking that I would be this stay-at-home wife, or I would be a mother. And in order for me to listen to the silence and break that, I had to say, oh, it's because I believed that this was what was going to happen. I never questioned it. So I don't know if you've ever questioned whether the house that you're in, whether it should be something that you should be in for the rest of your life, or if it was just a belief system you hold on to.
It's just a belief system I hold on to. Like, I know, just like you knew, at some point that whisper became the truth for you.
Right.
I know that it's the truth. And everybody that knows me well is literally like, I thought you would have sold that house like years ago, because like with the amount of stuff you're doing and like it just doesn't make sense for you to live there.
And so like somebody else saw it in you. First.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes, exactly. And now, because
when I talked to you, and I saw other friends of ours last week because they were visiting Boston, and I was sort of going like in the beginning of the freaking Crest downfall, and it was Joel, Marin, and Kat, and Kat looks at me and she's like, wait, are we really having this conversation? You're like worried about like some place in Vermont, whether you're going to live in an apartment, whether you're going to feel like you're Mel fucking Robbins. What the fuck? Like, and I'm like, you're right. I know how to do that. Why am I? Because I'm human, and because your ego comes in, and because if you keep running, this shit will catch up with you, which is why radical confidence is really about turning and facing it.
Yeah.
Instead of being afraid of it.
And then knowing that the path you choose to take in life will mean that you leave things behind. And that's where the mourning piece comes in. It's like, just because you're making a decision that's right for you shouldn't mean that you shouldn't embrace that you have to mourn the life that you're leaving behind, or the life you thought you were going to live. So maybe, Mel, for when you had your kids, and I again don't know, but maybe you're just like, this is the house that I'm going to bring them up in, and you've told yourself year after year after year that that's going to be the house. But now you've changed. Now your goals have changed. Now your life has changed. And now your reassessment of that isn't the same with a person who maybe first had those children.
I know what it is. You're giving me another breakthrough. Dude, I need to pay you for this.
Oh, I'm here for you. You're my bestie. You know that.
I literally feel like you just saved me. No offense to SSRIs, but I'm feeling like I'm like back. I'm feeling like the woman that crawled out of the crypt this morning, and my team had to like prop up and be like, oh God, Mel is not Mel today. That you have brought me back, woman. What is an anchor thought? An anchor thought is a extremely powerful and proven way for you to take control of what you're thinking about when your mind starts to spiral. And an anchor thought is any thought that makes you excited, happy. Think positive emotions here. I'm going to give you examples, don't worry. An anchor thought is something that you have predetermined and planned in advance that you're going to go to in your mind and picture. This is like a form of visualization in a situation where normally you feel anxiety. And you're going to use this practice of having a predetermined anchor thought in situations that make you nervous or anxious to go to as a method to anchor yourself down, to calm down your body, and to take control of what you're thinking about in situations that normally make you anxious. So let me give you a couple examples of what a anchor thought is and why you want to do them before a situation. So you can use anchor thoughts for everything from anchoring yourself in a positive vision as you're getting out of bed and thinking about the day ahead. And instead of letting your worries, anxiety, overwhelm, and nerves about dealing with your boss or facing the conflict in your house or whatever it may be, hijack your mind, you're going to anchor yourself in something positive and exciting about today. And if you can't think of anything positive and exciting about today, I'm going to coach you through that. Don't worry. If you have anxiety about work, you're going to anchor down on a moment from your past or a moment that you're excited about in your future that made you happy or excited. If you have anxiety about school, I want you to think about a thing about school that you like. One person, one teacher, one moment in your past where you did really good because you put in the effort and you got a really good grade on a test, or you felt really excited about what you were learning. And your anchor thought is going to be, I'm so excited to feel that way again. I'm going to give you a very specific example now. So I use anchor thoughts to deal with. I used to be an incredibly nervous flyer. I was convinced that if I got on a plane, I was going to die in a plane crash. And for the entire week leading up to getting on a plane, I would be nervous about it. I would be thinking about it. I would be thinking about sending, like if we were going away for the holidays, I would be thinking about sending the presents ahead via the mail in case the plane crashed. I'd be doing all kinds of like I was like a nutcase about this. And so the way that I started using anchor thoughts in order to change the way that I thought and felt on a plane is this. I would think about, before I got on a plane, I would think about something that I was excited to do once I got to the place that I was flying to. So for example, tomorrow I am flying to Vegas, and I'm going to think about a particular restaurant that I love in Vegas. And I'm going to think about what I'm going to order when I get to that restaurant. And I'm going to think about how delicious it's going to taste. And this person, my friend Mo, that I'm going to see. And so I've got my anchor thought, which makes me happy and excited, what I'm going to do when I get to Vegas. And when I get on that plane, and if I start to get nervous and my stomach starts to rumble and my body starts to feel anxious and my thoughts start to spiral, I immediately start saying to myself, I am so excited to get to Vegas and to go to that restaurant and to see my friend Mo, and notice I'm closing my eyes because I'm visualizing it. And I'm visualizing how happy I'm going to be when I see her. And that very specific, positive, excited, happy visualization of what I'm going to do when I get to Vegas, it settles my body, having that in my mind. It focuses my mind on something positive. And I, by using an anchor thought to weigh me down in terms of weigh down what I'm thinking about, and direct my body sensations to be positive, something crazy happens. When the plane's flying and we hit turbulence, and normally I'd be like, oh my God, we're about to die. Oh, what's happening? What's happening? I interrupt that anxiety response and that worry, and I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, using the 5-second rule, and awakening my prefrontal cortex. And then I literally just go, I'm so excited to be at that restaurant tonight to see my friend Mel. And here's what happens in my body. By taking control of my thinking, I change my body state. I've directed my thoughts. I've won the mental game. And my mind goes, oh, yeah, she's excited. And here's what's really interesting about it. Normally, if I were on a plane and I got nervous, the plane starts to bounce, right? So what happens? Immediately your mind starts to worry. Then your body starts to feel anxious because your mind is so busy worrying about whether or not the plane makes it. And then because your body is now starting to get anxious and you got a pit in your stomach and your armpits are starting to sweat, and your heart is starting to race, the body sensations that were caused by your mind thinking worries are now getting worse, and now the worries get worse. So it becomes this self-fulfilling thing. And you actually make yourself miserable. You cause the anxiety from your thoughts. And then your body, in the anxiety response, then causes your thoughts to get even worse. And it becomes worse and worse and worse until you're hyperventilating or convinced you're going to die, or you start crying, or whatever it may be. You can interrupt that and win the mental game and take control. I'm not kidding you. By deciding to. And you can say, I'm 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not going to think about dying right now. And first of all, it's not going to help. I mean, I'm not flying the plane, so I'm going to take control of what I'm thinking about so I'm not miserable as we're flying. And drop in the anchor thought. Anchoring you down. Even the word anchoring has a strength to it. Instead of your thoughts drifting all over the place, you're anchoring down and you're making your mind do exactly what you want it to do. And what I want it to do is to think about what I'm excited about when I get to Vegas. Because here's the thing about it. If I go to that restaurant and I see my friend Mo, obviously the plane made it. And so one of the other things that's powerful about an anchor thought is because your anchor thoughts relate to what you're doing, it makes sense to your brain, so your brain believes it. So going back to the example of work, think of a moment when you were proud. School, think of a moment when you were proud. And tell yourself, I'm excited
to feel that way again, or I'm excited to do well on this test, or I'm excited to learn what I'm going to learn, or I'm excited to have this conversation with my professor, or get this test over with and feel good again. And because the anchor thought that you're creating is related to what you're doing, it is going to make sense to your brain, your body will settle, you're going to get control of your mind, and that is how you win the mental game. You notice when your thoughts drift, you notice when the worries are starting, and you, boom, cut it off with an anchor thought. Let me give you another example, and then we're going to go into questions. Because what I want you to do for every single trigger you have, we had you yesterday in video 14 go through your day and come up with every single trigger that triggers your thoughts to spiral to the negative. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the power and the science of anchor thoughts, something that we can think of that you can anchor down on that is positive, happy, exciting, encouraging, about somehow related to the thing that's triggering you. And I'm going to walk you through some examples. I want to give you another one, though, for those of you that have kids that are watching. So when my son, our son was younger, he used to be completely anxious about sleepovers. There was just something about sleepovers that really freaked him out. And so before sleepovers, we would come up with an anchor thought that was related to the sleepover itself. So what are you excited to do in the morning? Now, notice I said the morning. The reason why we would always do the mornings is because he wasn't nervous about starting the sleepover. He was nervous about completing it. So we came up with an anchor thought that was about what he was excited to be doing in the morning. Were they going to make pancakes? Were they going to lay around and play Fortnite? And that anchor thought about what made him excited about what he was going to do in the morning, it was his go-to. So as we were driving over and he'd start to look at me and go, I don't know, Mom, I'm a little nervous. I'm like, great, let's go to the anchor thought. And he's like, okay, here we go. I'm really excited to have pancakes because she makes great pancakes. Great, that's great. And then all of a sudden his body stations would drop down. The other thing that I would recommend that you do with kids is come up with the anchor thought for all the things that trigger them, and also come up with a plan B. So a plan B is, okay, so you've got your anchor thought, my dear. You're excited about the pancakes. If it's 9 o'clock at night and you start to get that rumbling feeling in your stomach and you start to get worried about being at the sleepover, no problem. You're going to use your anchor thought, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm so excited for pancakes in the morning. And that's going to settle your stomach, and it's also going to distract your thoughts and direct them and anchor them. And that should start to take care of the rumbling feelings in your stomach, and that should start to take care of the things that are making you nervous. And then what we're going to do is you're also going to have a plan B. So with our son, for example, and this is important with anxiety, always go to the worst case scenario and plan out, okay, so let's say the worst case scenario happens. Let's say you decide you can't make it through the night. No problem. Just call me and I'll come get you. So that you're taking away worries. If you have to talk to your boss and you got your anchor thought, you're really excited. Here's another thing. If you obsess about getting fired, you obsess about being made wrong, come up with like your plan B, which is like, okay, I've got my thing. I'm so excited to go in there. I'm so excited to actually say what I need to say. I'm so excited for the situation to change. I'm so excited to make a difference with my work. And my ultimate plan B, let's say I get fired tomorrow for speaking what I speak. What's the first thing I'm going to do? What's my plan if that happens? I'm going to collect my stuff. I'm going to say goodbye to my friends. And I'm going to go home. And I'm going to look for a job. That's what's going to happen. Because if you go to the worst case scenario and you make a plan for what you're going to do, it's another way to sort of backstop your mind from catastrophizing.
If you train your mind to start spotting evidence as you're doing the work, as you're going through your day, it will help you. If you train your mind to start scanning the world and spotting evidence that yes, indeed, the world is sending you positive signals that things are going to work out. Now, why is it important to train your mind to help you get what you want? Well, the reason why is because if you get into a negative mindset, if you start thinking, shit, this business is never going to work. Why even bother? Or I'm never going to meet anybody. It's nothing but losers out there. Look at all these idiots on Hinge. Why the hell should I keep doing this? If you allow your mind to start to rest in a pessimistic, negative, protective, scared, and doubtful stance, your mind will continue to show you reasons why there's nobody on Hinge worth talking to. Your mind will continue to show you all the reasons why you will never make it in business. Your mind will continue to show you all the reasons why you're never going to lose that weight and be able to tuck in your shirt, as my friend Corinne Crabtree always talks about, that transformational moment. And when your mind goes negative, your mind starts to scan the world and will show you more reasons to stop. And the power of training your mind to spot positive signs is very simple. The power is that your mind will start to show you reasons to keep going. Your mind will help you take the step. Your mind will encourage you to feel optimistic, to feel empowered. Just like you woke up today on a Tuesday and it was February 22nd, 2022, and those numbers are lining up, and that makes you in your heart and soul go, whoa, something cool could happen today. Like, that shit only happens like once in my lifetime. Those numbers are going to line up like that. Today is a really cool day. Let's go do something with this. You could create that kind of attitude every single freaking day of your life. You could, if you train your mind and if you start taking action. And training your mind is the key piece that we're going to talk about. So for those of you that have read The High Five Habit, one of the things that I talk about a lot is every single day find a naturally occurring heart-shaped object in the world. It could be a stone, it could be a leaf, it could be a cloud, it could be a shape in your coffee. Hey Chris, if we've got anything around here that looks like a heart, hand it to me. And the reason why I love telling you to start playing a game with yourself where you start your day going, mind, brain, show me some heart. Oh, what is this? Come here.
Dog treat.
Oh my God, it's a dog treat. Look at this, guys. What shape is that, bitches? That right there is a heart, bitches. There we go. Check that out. If you say, brain, mind, show me a fucking heart today, guess what's going to happen? That damn dog biscuit, you're going to be like, there's a heart. You're going to look out at the sky and you're going to see a heart shape. Oh, right there in the mountains. There's a heart shape in the mountains in southern Vermont. You're going to see it in the clouds. What you're doing when you tell your mind what's important to you is you're telling your mind and the filter in your brain to change in real time and allow into your consciousness what's important to you. And if you want to see hearts, by God, those damn dog treats are going to start looking like hearts, everybody. That's how you train your mind. It's freaking incredible. And if you want to see evidence of this, follow me on social media. If you follow me, Mel Robbins, on social media, you will see every day I am reposting your stories of finding heart shapes around the world. Now, why is this important? Well, it's important because it's a simple way to prove to you that your mind changes in real time. That if you get serious about becoming more positive and optimistic and encouraging of yourself, if you get serious about saying, fuck this, I don't want to see all the reasons why I'm unhappy. I don't want to see everybody else in the world that's launched a business or that's lost weight and is healthy or that has a really good marriage or relationship. And I don't want to see that shit and have my mind process it as evidence that it's never going to happen for me. I want my mind to reprogram itself and see other people's businesses and see other people getting healthy and see other people in relationships. And I want my mind to say, fucking yeah, if they can do it, I can do it. That's evidence. If that person can get healthy, so can I. If that person can find somebody on Hinge, so can I. If that person can reconcile with their child, so can I. Other people can become evidence that you can have it too. Right now, your mind is so fucked up from your past that when you see what other people have and you don't have it, you can't actually translate it through a negative mind and see that that's evidence that you're going to win. You see it like, oh, somebody already stole what I wanted. That sucks. And so what I want to start to open your mind to is that you have the power to train your mind to filter the world differently. Just like you woke up and you saw the date today, 2/22/22, and your brain saw that and was like, whoa, this is a once in a lifetime day, everybody. You are never going to have another day that lines up like this, ever. What are you going to do with this day? Your mind already interpreted this as, wow, something cool could happen. And if you tell yourself something amazing is going to happen today, something will, because you're going to be looking for it. I swear to God, something will. Something will. If you want to see the good all around you, you got to tell your mind you want to see the good. And this just isn't a bunch of horse shit, everybody. This isn't toxic positivity. There is a filter in your brain called the reticular activating system. The reticular activating system. I call it the RAS. I like to think about it like a giant hairnet on your head. And this RAS sits over your brain. I'm probably getting this wrong. I'm not a neuroscientist. I could give a shit about getting it right. I just need you to know the basics here so that you can apply it to your life, okay? You don't need a PhD to use the science that super smart people have been working really hard on in order to apply it to your life. That's what I'm here for in your life. I'm here to translate this stuff into simple, believable, and actionable things that you can do to take all this super cool stuff that people are researching and apply it to your normal person's everyday life to help you change from the inside out. And one of the coolest things that you have at your disposal is you have a whole system in your body that you can train and change. And one of those things that you can train and change that is impacted by that word you're hearing a lot of, neuroplasticity, that just means that things are able to twist and bend and change, and you're able to learn new things for as long as you're alive. As long as you're breathing, everybody, you got a chance to change the way that you think. As long as you are breathing, you got a chance to change from the inside out how you experience your life. As long as you are still here watching me, people, you got a chance to create a new experience in your life. And one of the things that helps a lot is understanding that right now, all of the bullshit from your past has jammed the filter in your mind, body, and spirit, the reticular activating system. And it is clouding your ability to look at the world around you and see hearts. Remember this? Dog treat, hearts, bitches. Look at that. There's a heart right there. I'm gonna ask you, I want you to find a heart today, and I want you to tag me at Mel Robbins when you do. Okay? Tag me. Whoa, we got somebody whose birthday is today. Damn, you better declare something amazing on 2/22/22. That's freaking awesome. Fabulous for you. So here's the thing. Your past has completely fucked up the reticular activity system. The reason why you doubt yourself, the reason why you think nothing works out for you, the reason why you're seeking validation from everybody else is because your life trained you to do that. And I'm here to tell you, you can wake the hell up and you can realize that from this moment forward, you have the ability, using simple and believable tools, to reclaim your mind, body, and spirit, to retrain it, and to use it to help you feel the way that you want to feel, to experience life the way that you want to experience life, and to build a sense of momentum as you go through your day and you start to see all kinds of stuff around you as evidence that you can have it too. I'll give you a simple example. So as many of you know, for a very long time, I've always wanted to launch a podcast. I got my start in the media business back in 2007 by having a local radio show in Boston, Massachusetts on a talk radio station on Saturday mornings. That's what I did. I made $25 an hour. I hosted a show for 2 hours, a live call-in show where we talked about what was going on in the world. It was an advice show. I absolutely loved it. And from there, that show grew. It then became a Sunday night show in Atlanta. And then I got a 5-day-a-week show in Orlando. So you're looking at a woman who got her start in the media business doing local radio. I paid for our kids' braces by reading Invisalign ads for the local dentist. So I have been in sort of the radio or podcast business since 2007, since before podcasts. And then my life took detours like it did. I have not been in radio since, 2000. 11, maybe. So a long time, 10 years. And I've been thinking about launching a podcast for 5 years, everybody. 5 years. And every time I would think about it, my mind would look around, and my mind, my reticular activity system, the filter in my brain, was clogged with all kinds of crap. And when I looked around and I saw all these people launching podcasts, that fact of seeing it would filter through my mind, and my mind would say, there's no room for you. You're too late. You're not going to be as good as those other people. So my mind was looking at the outside world and the fact that everybody and their mother was launching a podcast 5 years ago, and they still are today. And it would pass through the filter in my brain, and my brain would say to me, Mel, you're fucked. You might as well just stop thinking about it because you're too late, woman. How many of you do that to yourself? That you see other people having what you want, and the way that fact that somebody else has gotten healthy, or somebody else has made $1 million, or somebody else has launched a business online, or somebody else has found somebody after divorce and is happier than ever, and you see that and you immediately assume, I'm fucked. Like, it's never going to happen for me. Instead of having your brain go, whoa, look at that. Look at all these people out there doing this. If they can do it, you can do it too, Mel. Look at that. You got all these people that can give you advice. You got all these people that are lights on the path that you want to walk down. How cool is that? You got all kinds of information, all kinds of help, all kinds of evidence that's positive. Well, the reason why my mind didn't see it as positive is the same reason why your mind does not see everybody else's business and everybody else's health journey and everybody else's bank account and everybody else's fancy vacations. Or when you walk into a bar and all your girlfriends get hit on instead of you, your mind does not see all of that as evidence that it's going to eventually work out for you, because your mind is clogged with all kinds of crap from your past. And I'm here to tell you, when you wake up and realize that you could train your brain to wake up every day and go, holy shit, today's going to be a magical day. Today is going to be that 2/22/22 day where you immediately see this. You know, this is the one day of your life where this is going to be the day. Come on in, Jesse. Jesse's here. Hey, YOLO! YOLO, come on in. You could literally train your mind to wake up every day and go, damn it, I'm going to see a heart today. And I'm going to see evidence today that shit's working out for me. And when my mind starts to see that this is going to work out for me, I'm going to feel more empowered. I'm going to feel more inspired, and I'm going to keep going. Because the bottom line is, everybody, your positive mindset helps you with momentum, repetition, and discipline. Your positive mindset helps you by encouraging you to take the action. Because as you know, because you hang out with me, Mel Robbins, thinking about changing your life is not going to change your fucking life. The only thing that changes your life is action. You want something different, you got to do something different. But a filter in your brain that filters the world in a positive way, in an encouraging way, a filter in your brain that acts more like that annoying friend. You know that annoying friend who's always trying to build you up? And I say annoying because when you're committed to being like, it's never working out for me, I'm never going to meet anybody, I'm never going to lose the weight. And your friend's like, oh, are you kidding? You know how amazing you are? You're like, fuck off. Don't tell me I'm amazing. I want to feel terrible. So when you start to change your brain, when you start to really go to work on this filter, you're going to turn your own mind from a critic and somebody who's nasty into that friend that's really cheering you on. See, this is going to work out for you. See, you should keep going. See, this is really good for you to do. And that's why it's important. It's really hard to take action when you have a shitty mindset. It's really hard to find what's called the activation energy, the force to push yourself through the resistance and the fear, if you are committed to believing that it's not worth doing anyway. And so action is critical. Action is where the 5-second rule comes in. But if you want to supersize this and step on the accelerator, you must start to train your mind. And one way you can start to do this is to look for hearts every day. That's one chapter in the book we haven't read yet. See, this is a dog treat that was shaped like a heart. I asked Chris, he scanned the room. Boom, bitches, that's how this works. The other way that you can start to train your mind is to learn about the filter in your brain, to learn about the fact that this filter in your mind has the ability to change in real time what you see. So today, we are building on the critical connection between having a positive, deliberate, healthy mindset and how you start the day and what your morning routine is. By way of recap, we've already covered why the number one thing about your morning routine is that the night before you plug your phone in outside of your bedroom, you can leave the ringer on, turn notifications off. If somebody needs to reach you, they can call you, but otherwise you're going to bed. That's number one. Number two, the second the alarm rings, you are to wake up. No hitting the snooze button. Yesterday, I explained in great detail the scientific reason why you do not want to hit the snooze button. And the fact that based on research, it is medically proven that when you hit the snooze button and doze off to sleep, you put your brain in a state of sleep inertia, which impacts your ability to focus, your ability to be positive, your ability to process information for up to 4 hours. That is why it is critical. And step 2 of your morning routine is when that alarm rings, you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, use the 5-second rule and get out of bed. Now, number 3, that's what we're talking about today. The third piece of your morning routine is that for the first 10 to 30 minutes of the day, that time is reserved for your dreams. That time is reserved for you. That time is time that you need to protect. You are not to pick up your phone. Do not turn on the television. Do not turn on the radio. No outside world input. All I want you to do for the first 10 to 30 minutes of the day is I want you to give those 10 to 30 minutes to your dreams. I think your dreams deserve 10 minutes, don't you? And you're not going to give them 10 minutes if the first thing that you do is pick up your phone. It's just not going to happen. Your attention is under siege all day long. All day long, the world is trying to sell you something, or they're trying to serve up something that's salacious or tempting or curiosity provoking in order to get your limbic system, which is the interior part of your brain, the fight or flight, the part of your brain that's triggered by emotion and fear. They're trying to trick you to pay attention to things that just don't matter to your dreams, to your day-to-day life, to your family. And that is why it is critical that the first 10 minutes are reserved for you and your dreams. Now, you may be asking, what is it that you should be doing in those 10 to 30 minutes? I'm so glad you asked because I have a gift to give you today. I have developed a journaling method. I'm not selling you anything. Don't worry. I'm actually giving you something for free. I've developed a journaling method that I worked on for the last 3 years. I've taught it to thousands and thousands and thousands of people around the world, whether I'm teaching it from a stage or whether I've incorporated it into other courses or the other training videos that we've done online. This is a journaling method that I use. It takes less than 5 minutes. It's backed by science. And what I'm going to do for the rest of the week is I'm going to walk you step by step through the various prompts that I use in the first 10 minutes of my day to anchor my mood on something positive, to focus on the one thing that matters to me today, to practice gratitude, and to draw boundaries between the things that I need to do and when I need to cut off access to work and when I need to stop working so that I can have a little bit of focus time with my family or with myself for self-care, taking care of myself, whatever. The gift that I'm giving you is in the email that's going out today. We are going to give you a link to the PDF of the 5-second journal. You're going to get the page that I fill out every single morning for free. You can look at it on your phone. You can print it out if you want. You can use it.
If you want it, you can, of course, go to Amazon, but that's not the point of giving it to you. I'm doing these live trainings and I'm teeing up this information because it is so important for you to get deliberate about what you're doing in order to improve your life. And so I want to share with you what I do every morning. I'm going to share with you the science behind it and why I do it and the results that it has created in my life. And I'm going to give you a free template to use so that you can try it out too, so that you can think and be more deliberate about what you're doing. That's the entire point of this, because the morning routine's only going to work if you make it yours. If you are a shift worker and your morning routine begins at midnight, all of these same principles apply. You need to make them work for you, otherwise you're not going to do it. And I'm the kind of person that if something sounds too good to be true, I tend to just sort of get like cynical about things and go, I'm not trying that. That's a gimmick. If I understand the science behind it, which is why I explain the science behind why you should never hit the snooze alarm when you need to get up and get going. When I understand the science and the reason and the research behind something, I am convinced to try it. And when I see results in my own life, then I keep doing it. And so again, today the training is very simple. You're going to continue being deliberate about building a morning routine. Tonight, plug the phone in outside your bedroom. Tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off, you are going to wake up as soon as that alarm gets off. You're welcome to hate me for that. That's fine. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get out of bed. If you're using your phone for the alarm, walk across the room, turn off the alarm. Do not pick up your phone. Do not. Go to a different part of the room. Go to the kitchen. Go to the bathroom. Go to your office. Go somewhere else. Crack open your notebook. The first 10 to 30 minutes are for you. Are for you. If you've got kids that get up really early, wake up 15 minutes earlier than you normally do. So you've got that quiet time in the house for you. In the email that goes out later today, I'm going to put in the email the link to the PDF of the 5-second journal template. You can also get that at 5secondjournal.com. If for some reason you're not on the email list, get to melrobbins.com/mindset reset so we can get these things to you. And in tomorrow's post, we'll be sure to upload a link to the PDF so that you can reach it as well. I want to answer a few questions. Tomorrow, I'm going to break down the journaling method, which is why I want you to have it in front of you tomorrow morning when you wake up so you can try it so that the training goes along with it. I also want to preview something. Many of you have been asking about whether or not we're going to get into anxiety. You better believe it. Now that our trainings have covered the default network in your brain, how to become a deliberate thinker, thinking this, not that, learning how to spot your limiting beliefs and switching gears and choosing what you think about. We're now in the middle of building a habit in the morning that's going to help support you be a deliberate thinker and will also give you control first thing in the morning so that you are in control of what you're thinking about. You've planned your day, you've pushed your dreams forward. That's going to start you out in a totally different way. Then we're going to get into topics like anxiety, depression, how to talk to your kids about anxiety. These are issues and mental health challenges that you face when your limiting beliefs, your worries, and your stress become not only your default, but they start to spin out of control and become the constant way that you think, not just the default that gets triggered. So we're going to be covering all of that in the coming weeks. This is game-changing stuff, but we got to start with the foundational stuff first. Default versus deliberate thinking, thinking this, not that, spotting your limiting beliefs and realizing it's a habit the way that you think that way. It's not the truth. And now building a morning routine so that the way that you wake up, how you wake up, and how you spend those first couple minutes of the day support your mindset changing and give you control through the rest of the day. Before I preview what we're going to talk about tomorrow, let me jump into some of the questions that we've gotten. If you've got questions, just put them right down there. Tell me, did you take the phone challenge? Did you take the snooze alarm challenge? Did you hate it? What did you notice? Share with us what's going on, because by you sharing your story, you're going to be inspiring other people as well. Even if you failed, so what? You're trying something new. Failing is just as good as succeeding at something because you're learning something. And Guess what? Tomorrow morning when that alarm rings, you get to go for it again. So shout out to Edith Shaw on Facebook. I wasn't sure if I could actually go to sleep knowing my phone was in another room, but I did. I turned it to silent and went to sleep. It was weird to say the least, and I did find myself reaching for it in the middle of the night only to find it wasn't there. Did you do that too? I know, it's a really crazy habit to break because you don't realize how addicted you are. But here's the good news. This is what Edith noticed. I really noticed the difference. I had space in my mind to think about my day. I visualized for a few moments. I thought about how my day will unfold. I wrote in my planner, and all felt a lot more peaceful and calm. Deirdre, she accepted the challenge last night, which actually had her get out of bed to cut off the foam alarm. Then she put the phone back down until I was ready to check the news. I was so much more productive and awake before leaving my house to get to the gym. I will do this every day now. I am hammering this stuff because it works. Here's a few more. Amy Robbins on Facebook. You mentioned if you wake up before the alarm, you need to get up. I often wake up early but don't want to get up yet. Am I out of luck and just need to get out of bed? Amy, look, you got to make this work for you. So if you wake up before the alarm and you have a meditation practice where you lie in your bed and you meditate and it works for you, do it. Then get up. What I don't want you to do, Amy, is drift back to sleep, because drifting back to sleep causes your brain to go into another sleep cycle, which lasts 75 to 90 minutes. And if you wake up before the 75 to 90 minutes, you've put your brain in a state of sleep inertia, and that's going to impact your productivity for the next 4 hours and your focus for the next 4 hours. That's why I don't want you drifting back to sleep. I could never lie in bed. I'm not that kind of person because I will fall back asleep. I hate getting up. But if it works for you as part of your mindfulness routine, your morning practice, to wake up before the alarm, have a mindfulness practice, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up, don't look at your phone, take the first 10 to 30 minutes for yourself, fantastic, go for it. Make it your own. That way you'll actually do it. Jane Harmon McFarland on Facebook. I start work at 6 a.m. every day and the alarm is set for 5:50. Do you just suggest that I wake up earlier, or can I do dream goal time before bed? I really want you to do it when you wake up. I would wake up earlier, Jane. I would wake up at 5:30, and here's why. The reason why is when you wake up, you got a clean slate. What I would love for you to deliberately put into your prefrontal cortex, the executive center of your brain, is I would like you to deliberately put how you want your day to go, what's the one thing that matters to you, and one thing that you can do to advance your dreams. Why? If you go back to some of the earlier trainings when we talk about the 2 modes of the brain and the fact that we all have a default mode network that acts like a filtering system in our minds. Part of the reason why I want you to wake up and engage the executive center of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, and be deliberate about what you're thinking is that by doing that, we are reprogramming your default network. We are telling the default network in your brain, the fabric and filter system in your brain, what you care about and what we want help spotting opportunities around. You know how there are moments in your life where you feel like you're in a state of flow and you notice these magical coincidences and you spot all kinds of interesting connections and things just seem to happen. Part of the reason why that happens, or the law of attraction works, is because by getting deliberate about what you're thinking about and about what you care about, you are priming your mind to be programmed to see connections and opportunities. Visualization, the law of attraction, it's not just some woo-woo garbage. There's hard science that explains why it works, and it has to do with your default mode in your brain, and how when you get deliberate and you engage the executive center in your brain, your prefrontal cortex, you train your brain to help you spot opportunities. Finally, last question, Mikey on Instagram. Why do I feel so guilty for carving out personal time? It's been hard for me since becoming a parent. I'll tell you why, Mikey. I bet it has to do with your limiting belief. I bet it has to do with that negative thing that you default to, whether you think you're not worthy or you think you're not good enough, that somewhere deep down inside, by taking time out for yourself, you are saying to yourself, well, I don't deserve to do that. And the only way that you're going to start to carve out personal time is if you go to war against that limiting belief and you create a new one. And the new one around personal time is, I will be a better parent, a better father, a better husband if I take time and go to the gym. I will be a better parent, a better person, a better husband if I take time to work on my dreams. And by the way, you want your kids to know how to take care of themselves, right? Well, the only way they're going to learn it is if you model it. So if you can't do it for yourself, use modeling, having healthy boundaries and healthy habits as an individual, modeling it for your kids as your motivation. All right, I got to hop because there are 1,500 people in a ballroom downstairs that I need to give a speech to. But tomorrow we are going to add on to this mindset training and the connection with your morning routine, and we're going to get personal. You're going to have a copy of my method and the journaling that I do every morning to prime my mind based on science. I'm going to walk you through step by step each one of the steps. I want you to try them. I want you to tweak them and make them your own. And I want you to continue to fight for that 10 to 30 minutes every morning. Here's the recap on your homework. Tonight, you're going to plug in your phone. Outside of your bedroom, you're going to go to bed. When the alarm rings, you're going to get up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, no snooze. You're going to turn off the alarm if it's on your phone. And tomorrow morning, you're going to take 10 to 30 minutes, all for you. You can meditate. You can plan your day. You can print out the PDF we're going to mail you in a little bit. That's the journaling page from the 5-second journal, my journaling method. You can fill that out and see how that feels. But you're going to practice grabbing your attention and being deliberate and setting your day up to go in the direction you want it to go in. And something's going to surprise you when you do that. You're going to be training your mind to help you make your day go in the direction that you want it to go. And you're going to start noticing all kinds of connections and magical things that happen. I know it sounds really weird, but it's true. This is the beauty of what happens when you get deliberate about what you want to see in the world. You get deliberate about what you want to say to yourself. And as always, continue to spot those limiting beliefs when they rise up today. And the second you see yourself saying, I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, why did I say something so stupid? Now's not a good time. I better not say what I really feel. You're going to interrupt that old default and you're going to insert something that's positive, because that is the work of doing a mindset reset. It's not a one and done. It's something you do all day long because you are fighting against a lifetime of limiting beliefs. All right. What else was I going to say? In case nobody else tells you today, I want to be the one to tell you that I love you. And I believe in your ability to make your life better. I believe in your ability to be happier. I believe in your ability to pursue your dreams. And that's why I'm here every day, to remind you of that fact and that you got this. I want to talk to you today about the power of choosing a word or a phrase that becomes your mantra or your intention. You see, I've said throughout this course that mindset reset isn't an event. It's not something that you do once. You don't watch one video and suddenly everything's changed. It's a process. And it's a skill that you're learning to be able to catch yourself when your thoughts are negative, or to notice when you're getting triggered, or to recognize the patterns that you think in that no longer serve you, and to take control of what you're thinking about deliberately so that you change your mind. And so today we're going to be talking about something that's called an environmental trigger. So much of this course has been about taking a look at what's going on inside your mind, right? Taking a look and noticing the patterns that you have in your brain. Taking a look and noticing what's triggering you. Creating anchor thoughts and doing the mental work of using anchor thoughts to update how you think. And I'm really proud of you. You've also been practicing a morning routine, and a morning routine is super important because how you wake up and what you do for those first 10 to 30 minutes, it's absolutely critical when it comes to your mindset. And we know based on research that your mood in the morning has an impact on your ability to focus, to be productive, and to be happy and connected all day long. And so you have been practicing your morning routine, which I want you to practice for the rest of your life. These are skills that you're going to continue to come back to. And today's lesson is a really, really fun one. We're wrapping up Mindset Reset this week. And so I want you today to come up with either a mantra or come up with a word that you're going to use in order to bring you back to the kind of thinking that you want to do. Okay, so it's like an Uber anchor thought. Now, there's a ton of research about something called an environmental trigger. Now, we've looked at triggers in this course. We looked at triggers, in a bunch of the videos. In video 14, we actually had you go into your life and identify all the triggers. In videos 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, we talked in depth about the science around how we think and how we think in patterns and what's the difference between being on autopilot and being deliberate. We've talked about limiting beliefs. We've talked about the skill of noticing when you're thinking that which is negative and switching to this which is positive. And in video 5, we had an extensive Q&A on all that. And so you've looked at triggers in your life in a negative way. Now I want to use triggers in a really positive way to trigger your mindset all day long. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I told myself that I would have a peaceful mindset. I told myself that I would relax. I told myself that I would believe. I told myself that I would do it anyway. I told myself. And so here's what we're going to do. Let me explain what an environmental trigger is. And then what I want you to do is I'm going to have you create one for yourself that will help you from now until eternity to constantly be coming back to the kind of mindset that you want. So there's these awesome authors, it's brothers actually, by the name of Dan and Chip Heath. And basically in their research, what they found is that when you place visual clues in prominent places to trick yourself into accomplishing your goals, you are more likely to achieve your goals because the clues are right in front of you. Let me give you some positive examples. So, for example, if you lay your workout clothes out at night, when you walk into your closet in the morning, there is a visual trigger, an environmental trigger in your closet to remind you of your commitment to exercise. There are your clothes right there out in front of you. It reminds you. If you buy healthy food and you get rid of all the garbage that you're not supposed to eat, when you open up your fridge, that is an environmental trigger that triggers you that you made a commitment to eat healthy. You made a commitment to be on Whole30. You made a commitment to do whatever it is that you're doing for your body. There was a guy in their research that made an environmental trigger out of his password. So his password was quit smoking forever. So that every time he signed into his computer, it was a environmental trigger to remind him of his commitment. Do you know what? The guy quit within a week. This is really powerful stuff. I'm going to show you some examples of environmental triggers. I promised that this program would be rated G, so I've got to cover up one of the words here. But this is on my desk. I don't know how. There we go. There we go. You're good. Okay. This is on my desk. You are doing a great you-know-what-in job. You are doing a great job. When I walk in and I see this on my desk, I'm going to tell you something. 9 times out of 10 when I'm walking in, I'm typically telling myself I'm behind the ball or I'm not doing enough or, boy, I've got so much to do. And when I see this sign, it's an environmental trigger that reminds me that I'm actually doing a good job. Because we all know if you're cheering for yourself, you're actually going to be more productive. If you bring optimism to your work, hey, I'm doing a good job, I'm doing the best that I can, you're going to do better. That's not me saying so, that's research. It's incredible. They did this 2-year-long study where they divided 2 sales teams into people who were optimistic and people who were pessimistic. And guess what? Within 1 year, the pessimistic natured people, that's a mindset, by the way, to see things negatively. The pessimistic mindset people were doing way worse than the optimistic. The optimistic folks were outselling pessimistic folks by 19%. By year 2, the optimistic folks were outselling the pessimistic folks by 57%. This mindset stuff isn't a joke. It works. And so another environmental trigger, my tattoo. Chris, can we see your tattoo too? It shall be. It shall be is a little grounding environmental trigger right on my wrist that when I start getting freaked out, that I start feeling like I can't trust, like if I can't come over here so people can see you, that I see this and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's right. Calm down, do the work, and it shall be. Chris, what's your environmental trigger right on your arm? Another tattoo here. What's that mean?
It says one gate, just a reminder to take it one gate at a time, or one day at a time, or one moment at a time.
Well, it's also really cool. Chris was a ski racer. Let's show him this. Chris was a ski racer growing up, and he used to sit in the gate. Can you see that? He used to sit in the ski gate at the start of the race and basically be pooping in his pants. He was so nervous. And so his father used to write him letters saying and counseling him to always just think about the next gate, take it one gate at a time. Guess whose handwriting that is? That's his dad's. Pretty cool, huh? That's a powerful environmental trigger. And so what I want you to do is I want you to come up with right now, what is a grounding mindset, a positive, an optimistic, a fulfilling word for you? What is a phrase for you? And write it in the comments. I want you to absolutely, positively tell me what your word is. Tell me what your saying is. What's on this wrist is it shall be. And this was something that I have used for years to calm anxiety and to stay hopeful and optimistic and put my head back down and do the work when I feel nervous. Another environmental trigger that I love. Now, these guys are a partner of ours. Some of you have asked, are these an affiliate partner? Yeah, they are. I love these My Intent bracelets. Let me tell you why. My word this year is deliberate. That's my word. Because in order to be the best mom I can be, to be the best wife I can be, to be the best colleague I can be, to be the best leader I can be, to be the best talk show host I can be, to be the best human being I can be, to myself, I got to start to be more deliberate.
So one of the things that I've struggled with over the course of the past year is how to come to terms with our new reality, our COVID reality, if you will. And no matter what your living situation is like, this pandemic has turned our lives upside down in the sense that we no longer have distinctions between certain aspects of our life, such as work, working out, socializing, since it's all happening under one roof and sometimes within one room. So I would love your advice about how can we not only accept this new reality, but how do we focus on our productivity and our happiness when every day feels like Groundhog Day?
So Becca has said the $1 million question. How do you accept this new reality? And that word accept is the single most powerful word that I want you to hold on to whenever you're going through any kind of change that has been forced upon you. And look, there isn't a human being on the planet who didn't have their life turned upside down when the pandemic hit. The secret is when life goes upside down, having the emotional resilience and the self-awareness tools to make sure you don't go upside down with it. So how do you do that when the change is hitting you and you don't like the change? Well, as hard as it is, accepting that this is happening is one of the most powerful things that you can do. It's like surrendering to a situation that is outside of your control, because resisting what's happening, bitching about what's happening, complaining about what was happening, wishing it would be different, all of those are forms of resisting, pushing against something, not wanting it to happen. And when you resist something, it persists, it sticks around by talking and complaining and wishing that it were different and griping about the pandemic and I'm so done, blah, 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 blah. You make it bigger. And so a super powerful move is to accept the thing that has happened, because lowering your mental resistance creates an expanded level of room for you to then respond to what's happening, okay? And that's where the power is. It's in choosing how you're going to show up and choosing how you're going to respond to this thing. And so, number one, accept, stop resisting, stop bitching, just accept. Number two, there's this tool that has really helped me through the pandemic in particular. It's also helped me in other moments of my life where there has been something going on that's been incredibly painful, or that's been heartbreaking, or where I've been grieving. And this is a simple mindset tool. And it is remind yourself that this moment is temporary. Remind yourself that this pain is temporary. Remind yourself that this heartbreak is temporary. Remind yourself that even in the case of grieving, the acute, all-consuming grieving and hurt that you feel in the very beginning, over time, that levels out. And so that acute pain is temporary. And there's a little thing that I want you to steal from me. It's what we call an environmental trigger. It is a positive way to cause a mindset switch. And this is the one that I've been using during the pandemic because, it'd be easy to about the pandemic every day. It'd be easy to feel like you just can't take it anymore. It'd be easy to allow yourself to slip into a depression or to just, throw in the towel on your habits and just really let it go in terms of your attitude and your emotional state. Don't do that. You're stronger than that. Remind yourself, hey, I didn't choose this, but I can ride this wave. And this wave is temporary. And so I want you to, in order to leverage this environmental trigger, here's what you're going to do. I want you to fast forward a year. Okay, whatever it is that you're facing right now in your life, the divorce that just got announced, the pandemic that you're in the middle of, the grieving that you're feeling. A year from now, all of that pain is going to be in the rearview mirror. You're going to be a stronger, better version of yourself. What is it that you're excited to do a year from now when you're through this moment? And pick something that's realistic that makes you excited. Don't pick the Maldives unless you live next to them. I want you to pick something that you're actually going to do because being realistic is really important. For me, when I think about this pandemic and when I get weary, I say, well, this is temporary. And when this is in the rearview mirror, I'm going to go here. This is a image of the state park in Western Michigan where I grew up. There's the little lighthouse. We used to climb this stone kind of break wall all the way out to the end when I was little. And when it's really safe to travel and when my parents have gotten their vaccine, guess what? I'm going to go home to where I grew up in Western Michigan, and I'm going to go swim in Lake Michigan. And this hangs in my office. And all day long, I sort of glance at it. And when I glance at it, it's a subconscious reminder, a positive environmental trigger. It's something in the environment I'm working in that reminds me, oh yeah, this is temporary. And here's the final thing about going through a challenge. You've accepted it, so you've stopped resisting it. You're reminding yourself that it's temporary. You are putting an environmental trigger that cues you subconsciously that better days are ahead. And the final thing is, allow yourself to experience some joy right now. Because you're not going to remember the specifics of this moment in your time, but you're going to remember what it felt like. And even if you're suffering, even if you're going through an enormous challenge, a tremendous loss, even if you're afraid, you can still access joy. You can still step outside and stare at the stars and allow yourself for just a moment to be reminded of the beautiful universe that's around you. You can turn on music and you can have a dance party in your kitchen, even if you're grieving. You can take time out of your day to take care of yourself. You can pull yourself into this moment and notice something that you really love. Like, look at these. You want to see something amazing? Look at these freaking roses. I bought these at the supermarket. Are they not extraordinary? Look at the pink and the green on the edges. Isn't that fabulous? That brings me so much. They don't smell like anything, but the sight of them brings me so much joy. And I can tap into that joy on demand when I want to, even when I'm going through a challenge, even when I'm grieving, even when I'm scared. And being able to tap into that joy on demand like that is what will help you build the resilience to stop resisting what's happening, to remind yourself that this is temporary, to print out some sort of environmental trigger, and to stop and smell
the roses.
Christine on Facebook, I need this and I'm doing all these exercises, but what if your spouse isn't on the same page? He also needs this. You can't change somebody else, Christine. You just can't. What you should do is exactly what you are doing. You work on yourself. And here's what's going to happen. In relationships, this is true about your relationships at work, it's true about your friendships, it's true about your marriage, it's true about who you're dating, it's true about you and your kids. As you grow, as you evolve, as you become more positive, one of two things are going to happen. The people that are in close proximity with you, because remember, behavior is contagious. The people that are in close proximity to you are going to do one of two things. They are either going to be inspired, encouraged, and hopeful based on what changes they're seeing in you, and they're going to want it for themselves. And so they're going to be attracted to the change that they see in you. And people are more attracted to the change that they see in you when you're not trying to push your change on them. So you do you, Christine. You do this course. You work on your mindset. You redirect your thoughts. You do not let yourself get plugged in or triggered or drawn into petty arguments that you used to. You shine a positive light on things. And one of two things are going to happen. Either your husband's going to be like, I really notice a difference. Do you think it would work for me? Or that standoff that you're feeling is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're going to go to the next level of your transformation, which is about drawing boundaries and making requests. But you don't need to worry about that right now. You don't need to worry about him. You need to worry about you and be positive and be the light in your marriage. And if you become expansive, what's going to also happen is that the energy between the two of you is going to change because you have changed. And that might just be the catalyst that changes everything. Got it? Okay, good. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.